people are saying that Americans cannot buy starter homes and they don't know why. Americans are having trouble and that the starter home has now gone away. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. If you have not, Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. Let's spend 10 minutes talking about this and then we'll go from there, all right?
Starter homes are disappearing from the United States. In the early 1980s, as many as 40% of the new homes built were considered entry-level. By 2023, just 9% fit the criteria.
Give it another 20 years and literally no young person will be able to afford to purchase a home, period.
Meanwhile, a slowdown is mounting in the home building industry, which could contribute to the ongoing decline of the starter home.
Both housing starts and building permits, which are an indicator of future construction, have slowed down this fall, and it's not just seasonal.
There are over 3 million potential first-time home buyers in the country. They're up against high home prices that keep rising.
What you're starting to see are mini price bubblets in markets that are an hour, 2 to 3 hours from major metropolitan cities.
It is such an unusual market because we have an all-time low of first-time home buyers, but an all-time high of all cash buyers.
So where did all the starter homes go?
They got an all-time high of all cash buyers because people like me understand the game. We understand that it's not about getting rich in real estate. It's about making a long-term play and protecting your wealth, especially when it comes to the amount of money that you got to give to the federal government in taxes. And so we'd rather spend it on things that make us more money than not so much so. And then we make sure that we run up a bag. So I have a theory, and it's a lot of different things that go into why there's no longer a starter home or a starter home pack or the amount of money that you can spend in order to get to a starter home. But it's only because I've been in the real estate for a long time and I now understand the cost that's associated with building homes. But let's get it started.
A starter home is typically modest in size and price.
It's the most affordable home in any market. If you're in the Midwest, maybe it's in the $100,000 range. If you're in California, a starter home might be in the $400,000.
You can forget it. You can forget it. I don't know where they getting these numbers from. I ain't seen a $100,000 home that's in a halfway decent neighborhood in 15 years. I haven't seen a starter home, and that's only because we had a housing crisis that absolutely reset everything. I haven't seen a home that's in a $100,000 range in well over 15 years. It doesn't even exist. I don't care where you at. I don't care where you from. Even if you get a home that's burned down, dilapidated, and they sell it to you for nothing, like in Baltimore or something like that, you still gonna have to put $200,000 in there in order for it to be inhabitable. Easy. Easy, 100%.
Range.
To me, a starter home used to be a smaller condo, a smaller space, and someone would upgrade maybe after 5 years as they get married or have a family and want to move. But now we're actually seeing that most people are buying their first home as a single family residence and really planning on staying in place.
America's home builders are making fewer of these kinds of units.
If you look at the number of single-family starter homes, those defined as being 1,400 square feet or smaller, we used to supply anywhere between
1,400 square feet is a good home now. People would take that. You talking about people that's actually moving home with their parents, trying to figure it out. 1,400 square feet is that's a good home. Most people's apartments ain't even 1,400 square feet. And so when you starting to get, it used to be to where you would be in an apartment. Well, okay, so this is what it used to be. You used to stay home, then you would live on college campus, which you then transition into an apartment, and then you would stay in an apartment until you eventually bought a home because now you had a family, you had outgrown your environment. Maybe you moved out to the suburbs where you got better schools, and so now you're going to be in that home, and then you start off in that home, and then you maybe sell that home, and then you buy a bigger home once you grow into it and you have more kids. And then eventually you grow maybe into one more time in a bigger home. And then once you start getting older and the kids start leaving the house, that's when you downsize. First, before you downsize, you get a vacation home. And then you become a snowbird, and then you may downsize because you have too many rooms and you don't have it. You don't need that much space anymore. That used to be what the cycle was. Now, people are like, you know what? I'm about to just move home and stay home. Or if I buy a home, this is my lifetime home. So I need to make sure that I'm in a decent area and that I could grow into this and live with it for the rest of my life. It used to be a cycle. It used to be a cycle. Stay home, go to college, then get an apartment, transition from an apartment to getting married. Y'all get a starter home, maybe a 2 or 3 bedroom. And then if you have more kids and a dog, you grow into a bigger home. Maybe you go into one more bigger home. Then you get the vacation home in addition to the home. And then after that, you start to downsize because the kids then grow into a different thing. And then you go from there. Now, all of that's over. That's dead.
400 and 500,000 units a year.
Over the past decade, builders have put up less than 100,000 homes each year.
Really, by far, the number one reason is the increasing difficulty that many builders have in dealing with zoning regulations.
Zoning laws are set at the local level. These laws can determine the size of each lot in a neighborhood. They can also specify how far a structure is set back from the property line, how tall it is, or how many units are on site.
We went over this
in many cases, these laws create an opportunity for local residents
stuff.
to challenge new development. The residents often raise concerns, like overcrowding of schools and wear and tear on local roads.
A lot of this has to do with density restrictions within local communities. They may not want a townhouse or a condo community coming in, but they absolutely will welcome a single family community.
Zoning codes are found all around the country. The most restrictive ones are often found in major cities.
Many builders are not leaving money on the table. They are just simply unable to build, or it's become so expensive to build that they can only build high-end single-family and high-end multifamily.
Correct.
Given the high price of land, labor, materials, it's very difficult for big home builders to build the entry-level homes.
Because you're going to spend more than $100,000 in most instances, in a lot of instances, on the land itself. Listen, you can forget buying a home. You talking about at a time when a lot of those homes was built, that land was like $5,000. Your great-great-grandfather and all of them, they used to be able to buy land for like $5,000, and then the home was on it. The land itself is over $100,000, and if you over there in the West, over in California, you might pay $1 million or $1.5 million just for the land by itself, so that when you start building a home, somebody can come in and squat on it. The land is more expensive than what a starter home used to be.
There are a couple who specialize, like D.R. Horton, which has an express homes division, which specializes in starter homes. But for medium-sized builders, it's just very expensive in order to pencil all the costs they have and make it affordable to that lower-end buyer.
As a result, home builders and first-time buyers are targeting further-flung locations.
We've definitely seen a trend toward purchasing a home further from the urban core. So you do see a lot of new construction in suburbia and exurbia.
Home values are now rising most rapidly in low-density and rural areas. Experts say that relaxing these codes could lead to higher levels of home building and preserve affordability.
For example, in San Antonio, there are some builders that are building sub 1,000 square feet, single-family detached homes, right? Which would have been almost unthinkable.
That is called a tiny home. Listen, you can't finesse me and you can't market it to me. The problem is not building more homes. We have a ton of inventory. Millions of homes are on the market today. The problem is the building costs, the materials, the land is costing a lot of money because a lot of these municipalities want to raise the property taxes because they're trying to plug holes in their budgets. Also, on top of that, money is not cheap anymore. So you can't finance your way into it like with lower payments because the interest rates are too high. And then you throw the cherry on top. Layoffs and wage growth. Layoffs and wage growth. We have an affordability crisis that a lot of different factors go into it that prevent you from being in a position to buy a home in the first place.
Just a few years ago. So the market is reacting, but its response mechanism is really limited because of the rules of the game.
Some areas with less restrictive zoning codes are welcoming many newcomers. For an example, see Metro Atlanta.
Home is in Atlanta now. I'm currently in Decatur, Georgia, which is right outside of the perimeter, so I have easy access to the city. It gives a little bit more of suburban-ish kind of feel. It's just the culture, the energy, the aesthetic,
and you
the
got corporate buyers. That's
a
correct.
more
right.
elevated experience in day-to-day living, honestly.
Lillian Mantaya is a filmmaker and entrepreneur. She was in line to buy a home in the Baltimore area in 2024, but that plan fell through. Since then, she's moved to Atlanta to live with her sister and come up with a new plan.
Of course they did. It's always moving to Atlanta or Houston. Shout out to Atlanta or Houston. Somehow y'all marketed yourselves as the black mecca for people to move to when they can't do what they want to do where they from.
I did grow up in Baltimore. I gave Baltimore a shot in my adulthood with my children, and I did the 9 to 5 and, attempted to buy a house there and everything. But Baltimore wasn't providing just the life lifestyle, resources, community that is needed for me to thrive. And Atlanta has been able to kind of just support me more.
Experts say that more dense forms of housing could have helped first-time buyers, particularly in crowded areas.
We do know that local communities are trying to address the lack of housing inventory in pretty unique ways. So accessory dwelling units is certainly a popular approach right now. That's one solution, but I think we need to be looking at adaptive reuse as well. So looking at vacant hotel motels, looking at vacant residential malls, and how do we bring residential housing units into those areas?
Much of the new construction since 2020 is in luxury apartments, with units that are not for sale.
The recent boom in multifamily construction has been on the higher luxury end, but it's easier for multifamily developers to get in and pencil that many apartments because they're renting them, and rents have been very high.
You will
Finances
become
are
a
big
nation
barrier
of
for
renters.
first-time buyers. The premium paid to buy a home has increased sharply relative to renting over the past decade. The increases in home prices have also outpaced increases in wages. As a result, home sales are down across many markets, and the median age of the typical first-time home buyer has climbed to 38. That's up from
People think that people think that if you build more homes, which was one of the Kamala Harris campaign promises, that they were going to build 3 million new homes, whatever, that's going to solve for the affordability crisis. That's not going to drive down the cost of homes at all. Just because you build a lot more, you still haven't sold the glut of properties that's on the market right now. It's only certain areas that they're doing open houses for that's booming like that. But you have to be competitively priced, and you have to be very, very careful of how you market yourself and where you stand in the marketplace and what your total costs are.
age 29 in 1981.
Just thinking about all of the headwinds that a 30-year-old may have, like student loan debt and car loans and credit card debt.
Correct.
And then they have rising rent. And so keeping that all in mind, it's hard to save for a down payment when housing affordability is really out of reach.
The problem is you have the most demand on the low end of the market because affordability is so rough right now, but you also have the least supply on the low end of the market.
The average price of homes has increased rapidly too. Nationwide, home prices have climbed over 52% between January 2020 and October 2024. Adding to the burden, mortgage rates have returned to their standard historical range, near 7%. Homeowners with a mortgage are paying 29% more than they would if they rented the same house. Dynamics like that are shutting out all but the highest income Americans out of the market, at least on average.
We're seeing first-time homebuyers come into the market using inheritance, using 401k or stocks, cashing those out, combining all of these resources, and actually making an all-cash purchase.
Do not, under any circumstances, listen to me. I know that you guys don't want to hear this, but I'm going to try to tell you, and I'm going to try to convince you anyway. Under no circumstances do you cash out your 401k. Under no circumstances do you cash out your 401k. Do not do it. Don't think about it. That's not the move. It's not going to make sense for you. You will regret it. And the penalties that you pay on top of it is going to be egregious. Nothing short of disrespectful and egregious. Okay? For some of you, it may be a better option for you guys to, let me put it on the money. It may be a better option for you guys to, because your assets, if you're thinking about net worth, it may be a better option for you guys to let your money grow inside of, certain purchases or your stock portfolio along with crypto versus trying to make sure that your net worth is tied up 100% in your home. So it may make sense for you to rent depending on where your lifestyle is and where you want to live at and what the true cost of it is, because I don't think that we take into consideration the true cost of home ownership. Neither here nor there.